Now, you could be trying to do everything and making money, you're working hard, you're doing as much as you possibly can, but Allah Azza wa Jalla is still not giving you money. The one who gives you rizq is not letting you have money. Maybe it's something you're doing, that's something we're going to cover in this video. One of these things could be holding you back, one of these things could be stopping your wealth, stopping the blessings, and so let's go through what and if maybe there is something. You see, something people struggle with on a daily basis is having the blessings in their money. I know people who have actually made 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 pounds a month. But until they do things the right way, until they stop doing the haram that they're doing, the blessings is never there in their money. And I don't just mean making sure that the money they make is in a permissible way, but I also mean that they are actually doing what is expected of them as a Muslim. Ask yourself the question. You've been making this money, but have you actually been giving in charity? Ask yourself the question. You're making this money, but are you giving money in zakat? Are you giving what you should be giving? You'll be surprised in knowing how many people do not give money in charity. How many people do not give what they should as what is fard upon them. Their zakat is fard upon them and they are not giving it in charity. And so you have to understand, giving zakat is actually purifying your money. That is actually keeping your money pure. It is allowing the blessings to enter your money. It is allowing your money to last long. Like, trust me when I say giving money to the poor, giving money to charity, it is never going to decrease your money. And that isn't something that I say, but that is something that we know as Muslims. Now then imagine you're doing all this work, you're putting the effort in, but there's a major sin that you're falling into. A major sin. And maybe you don't even realize you're falling into the sin. And that could be in a Western world where a lot of us live, where we actually end up dealing with riba a lot, and unfortunately it's become the norm. And to be honest with you, I completely understand if you say to me, it is difficult to stay away from it completely, because we know there will come a time that staying away from riba is actually very difficult, and maybe we are in that time. But the truth is this, that you can do as much as you possibly can, and that is the best advice that I can give you. It doesn't now mean that it's a necessity to take a credit card. It's not that there's a necessity to have a mortgage. It is not a necessity to work in a bank. You guys do have that option to not fall into riba the way we are falling into riba these days. And bearing in mind, you guys need to seek knowledge and speak to your people of knowledge and understand maybe there is a place where you are falling into riba right now. Like, for example, if you are paying late fees in some of your contracts, that can be classed as riba. Now, I'm not going to say late fees every time is riba or whatever. I'm just saying, if you are paying late fees on some of your contracts or doing it somewhere, can you have a conversation with your supplier, with someone who gives you a service, and just say, by the way, can you take this late fee out? You'll be surprised how many times I've had a conversation with a supplier, someone who gives me a service, or someone that I buy something from, and I ask them the question and I say, by the way, can you take this late fee out? And I'm going to tell you, by the way, I was looking to buy a property in the UAE. A crazy story, by the way, and it shows because Allah Azza wa Jal tells us when you give up something for the sake of Allah, Allah will give you something better. And so I'll tell you a story of when I was looking to buy a property in Dubai. So I'm there in the UAE looking to buy a property. Qadarullah, what ends up happening is I go and meet the people. It's a fantastic place to invest and buy something. And anyway, I don't buy it because they tell me that there are, there's late fees in the contract. I speak to my person of knowledge, and he basically says, look, stay away from it. It's a riba. It's clear-cut riba. And so anyway, I discuss it with my person of knowledge. And so I decide, you know what, no matter how much of a good investment it is, it's not worth it. I promise you guys, I come home, I'm having a conversation with my wife. Wallahi, this is exactly what happened. I have a conversation with my wife, and my wife ends up meeting a couple of people. I don't want to go into the details of it because maybe the person doesn't want to be exposed. Qadarullah, what ended up happening is I ended up knowing the person who was very high up in that community, and I had a conversation with them. They completely understood why I was asking to take out the late fees and if we could go ahead with a contract with, not having to pay late fee and therefore not having to pay riba, right? My wife just went to the park and ended up meeting some sisters, and anyway, a contact came out very high up in that community, like very, very high up, and may Allah reward that person for understanding and accommodating, and they take the late fee fees out. They took the late fees out of the contract and accommodated for us because we asked the question. And the point is this, guys, if you guys can understand that when you give up something for the sake of Allah, Allah will give you something better, you really have to believe in that. And I genuinely full-heartedly believe that when I gave up that property where I would have made a lot of money, I gave it up because I was like, you know what, forget it, like it's not worth it because I'm going to end up falling into haram. Surprise, surprise, some miraculous way, Allah Azza wa Jal paves a way where it's actually made a lot easier for me. And you guys, I promise you need to understand that. Be certain in your belief and have it with the chest out, man. Like really believe when you give up something that Allah is going to give you something better, no matter what it is. Which leads me on to number 3, because how many of us in our corporate jobs will end up falling into haram, and then we expect promotions, we expect money, we expect to have these things. I mean, ask yourself the honest question. When you turn up to an interview, you shake hands with the opposite sex. I'm not saying everyone does, because I'm sure a lot of people don't, but you fall into that haram. Then you're sitting there and you maybe crack a joke which is inappropriate. You're not actually meant to crack a joke, and you crack a joke, you fall into haram again. And then you go to the Friday pub because everyone goes to the Friday pub. Now you don't drink, you have orange juice instead, which again is problematic. You're not allowed to do that. And so as a Muslim, you have to understand Allah Azza wa Jalla is going to give you your rizq. Your money is guaranteed. There is going to be no blessings in your money if you're falling into haram and you think you're going to get promoted now just because you are accommodating the way your community or your society or your colleagues want you to. You are behaving the way that your colleagues want you to behave. You're forgetting that Allah Azza wa Jalla doesn't want you to behave like that. It's not okay for you to behave like that as a Muslim. That's something you're forgetting because you're so bothered about pleasing your colleagues. And by the way, that might be one of the main reasons why you get your salary, it doesn't last that long, and by the end of the month, you don't really have that much money left. Because if that keeps happening, you need to ask yourself the question that maybe it's something that you're doing. And if it was me, by the way, I promise you guys, if I felt like my money wasn't lasting a long time, if I felt like, something is going wrong, I would look at myself. I would look at yourself. And that is number 4. Look at yourself when the money isn't working for you, when your business isn't working for you, when something is going wrong and you feel like there is no blessing. Look in yourself. Maybe there is a sin that you are continuously doing. Maybe you are not praying all your salahs on time. Maybe you are not taking your time in your salah. Maybe you're just like continuously bang, 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 within 2 minutes you're praying like 4 fard, for example. Maybe you just need to fix something within yourself and look at yourself, because self-reflection is one of the most important things. Now, number 5, I think is crucial, and I think not a lot of people talk about it, so I want to go into that. But before I do that, remember something, guys. If you stay away from the haram, if you stay away from what is not okay for you, Allah Azza wa Jalla is going to bless you. Allah Azza wa Jalla is going to bless your money. Allah Azza wa Jalla is going to genuinely open up doors for you that you never imagined. And I want to talk about another story, and that is when I was starting my own recruitment company, which alhamdulillah, by the way, we did really, really well in. And I was so surprised at the amount of doors that would open up and how many times I would see the blessings that I never ever expected. The amount of times that happened, and I genuinely believe one of the biggest reasons why that happened was because when I was starting, I wanted to make my business a means for me to get closer to Allah Azza wa Jalla. Now hear this out. I wanted my business to be a means for me to get close to Allah Azza wa Jalla and for me to study my religion more and for me to be able to do more. Right? It's something that I have to check on myself all the time, but that was my intention. Now imagine, I left my job for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla because I genuinely, a part with it was definitely, I wanted to be a better Muslim. Doors opened up that I never imagined. I did everything I could possibly do in a halal way. And you know what? I always consulted with my people of knowledge when I wasn't sure. And that's something we don't do. You're not consulting with your people of knowledge when something is going wrong. And when you are looking to start a business, when you're looking to start a job, you're not even asking the question because you're scared. Let's be honest, you're scared that someone might turn around to you and say it's not permissible, you can't do it. The truth is you have to consult with your people of knowledge to make sure that you are not earning money which is in a haram manner. Unfortunately, we are reliant on our people of knowledge, right? A lot of us, we're laymen, we don't know, so ask them. Ask the question and go to them and consult with them, because something you might be doing right now in your job could mean that your money isn't actually completely permissible. Which leads me on to number 5, because ayn is very, very real. And for some of the Asian brothers, nazar, ayn is a real problem. And ask yourself the question, how often are you doing your adhkars after Fajr and how often are you doing your adhkars after Asr? And at this point, actually, I want to share an app with you which works really, really well for me. And this app, I'm going to tell the editor to put up, and I use it in the mornings after Fajr and I use it after Asr. Now, look, of course, I'm unable to use it all the time and I'm not the best at it, but it's a reminder for yourselves as well as me that we need to be doing our adhkars all the time, because sometimes when we achieve something, someone's ayn, it really affects us. It really affects. So we have to be very careful and do our adhkars all the time. And maybe our wealth, maybe our money, maybe our health can be affected because of ayn. And so that is all from me today. Hopefully this video was a benefit. Make sure you are keeping your money halal. Make sure you are staying on the straight path. Make sure you are staying away from everything which isn't okay, because Allah will open up doors you have never imagined when you stay on the straight path.